Do you hear that, traveller? Those are the quiet sounds from one of Warcraft's least visited zones. The peaceful background symphony to a land that sees no new heroes or champions. Shielded from the world by the tall and strong Alterac Mountains, the Hinterlands is a bastion of wilderness, kept secret from those who do not find the 3 hidden entrances. The tunnel to the south, the hilly pass in the west, and the mountain stairs from the north. It is a land hard to find, and you shall find no one here, except me. I am here, and I am here because this is GoldLocked. On the last episode, I spun the wheel, and to this corner of Azeroth it has sent me, and I cannot spin again until I earn 50,000 gold from this land. Now, that might not seem like a kingly sum of riches, but that is before you ask the question, does no one come here because there's nothing of value? Or is it just so hidden that there are still many treasures to be discovered? And what of the zone's story? Does it have any lore worth learning? Or is it just a quiet corner of Azeroth where nothing of interest ever happens? Let's find out. And what better way to start than with a zone introduction? Hidden away in the Alterac Mountains, you'll find Lordran's last pockets of wild green, the Hinterlands. Out here, the Wildhammer dwarves hold Airy Peak, raising fierce griffins and watching the passes, while scattered high elves keep a quiet foothold at Quel'Danil Lodge. But the forests belong to the trolls too, the fractured remnants of the old Amani presence. Witherbark and Vilebranch warbands still cling to crumbling monuments like the towering city of Jintha Alor. If you wander south, you'll discover the Outer of Zul and the broken temples of Shadra Alor. Follow the trails east and you'll hit the coast and find the Reventusk, who have declared themselves for the Horde. And in the north, Seradane, an immense ancient tree guards a gateway tied to the Emerald Dream, with signs that something in the Green Dragonflight's domain has gone wrong. In the Hinterlands, every trail leads to something ancient, or something angry. Now, I wasn't joking when I said this zone could be one of Warcraft's least visited leveling zones. When looking through the data on Wellhead, the Hinterlands always had significantly less reports than any other zone, sometimes up to 10 times less than similar zones. And once I finally got here, it was easy to see why. There's no quest that takes you to the Hinterlands, at least in the post-Cataclysm version. Maybe there was back in vanilla. And of the only 3 entrances to the zone, 2 of them don't even show up on the map, at least not very clearly. It's easy to see how unless you were specifically looking for this zone, you could walk on by it and never know it was there, which probably explains how in my 20 years of playing World of Warcraft, leveling up over a dozen Alliance characters, I have never stepped foot in this zone before, especially from the time before flying mounts, where unless you stumbled through one of those entrances, the high mountains mean you wouldn't even get a glimpse of the zone. So with that in mind, I figured the best way to get the lay of the land and spot potential farming areas was to do all the quests in the zone, which luckily for me, there isn't that many. We start out at Airy Peak, a dwarven fortress set into the side of the mountain, which also has one of the coziest living spaces. I mean seriously, look at this. I wish the questing hub was in here. Unfortunately, it's in a smelly griffin nest at the top. It turns out this is where the dwarves get their griffins, and they need some help feeding them and killing some wolves. Then they send you off to the front lines at Stormfeather Outpost. Here, a conflict as old as time is heating up again. The dwarves versus the trolls. It's your standard stuff. They have you kill the big bad trolls, as well as clearing out all the slimes from Skull Rock. Next, we're sent further inland, deeper into the Amani territory. We push in to Jintha Alor, where we help release Ongo Longo, so he can get his revenge on the Vilebranch clan. My reward for this quest, by the way, was an invisible chess piece. So if you see our hero Willboy running around with his pecs out, this is why. Then we head off for a little rendezvous with the elves, and we help them push back an ambush from the Forsaken. And then it all comes together for the final mission, summoning Shadra, the Venom Queen, so that we can kill her off before she's used against us. This last quest was actually really fun. There's nothing creepier than a giant spider. Overall, it gave the feeling of your early classic zones. No world-ending threat, you're not the champion of Azeroth, you're just running around, helping people in the zone with whatever they're dealing with at the time. And with all that done, I had definitely discovered a few good potential gold farms. One of which could be very lucrative that I don't think many people know about. And I'm going to save that one till the end. First up, we've got some wolves and some snapjaws that might provide a good skinning route. We're looking for heavy leather and heavy hide, both of which go for a good price. The turtle meat from the snapjaws also sells for a fair bit. Next up, herbalism. And there are a lot of herbs in the Hinterlands. Khadgar's whisker, goldthorn, fade leaf, bruiseweed, and more, including stranglekelp, which is where the big money is. With the housing update, stranglekelp is now selling for a fair bit as it's used for this stranglekelp sack, and it has multiple spawn points out in the ocean. And then we have mining. I really don't expect much from mining in this zone. You've got iron, tin, silver, and gold ore, which don't sell for much as it is, and there seems to be so few nodes that it can be very rare to actually get any. But we'll give it a try anyway. Now, while the farming is happening, let's take a look at some of the troll lore. Hinterlands is one of the great cities of the Amani Empire. Built in the Hinterlands and named for Jintha, an ancient Amani leader. In forest troll history, it's remembered as the second largest of their cities, behind only Zulaman, a tiered fortress city designed to dominate the surrounding valleys. After the collapse of the Amani Empire, it was the Vile Branch tribe that took up rule of Hinterlands. From here, they waged long wars against their rivals, especially the Wildhammer and the Reventusk, and the city's reputation hardened around rumours of captives and sacrifice. One of the most infamous episodes is tied to Vile Priestess Hex, ordering raids in which the Vile Branch took Elder Tauntusk for the altar, and executed the Reventusk guard captain Huntsman Malcor, with accounts claiming his remains were fed to wolves and oozes within the city. Hinterlands became a symbol as much as a fortress. Capturing the Griffin Sharpbeak was the Vile Branch sending a message straight to Airy Peak, and Hinterlands' name turns up in older relic lore as well. It used to be that you could retrieve the sacred mallet from the altar of Zul, then bring it to the summit of Hinterlands, where you could transform it into the Mallet of Zul'Farrak, the item needed to summon the mighty beast, Gazrilla. After the Cataclysm, the story of the Troll City shifts again. Sources describe the Vile Branch turning away from Hakar's blood rites, and reorganizing around Shadra, a spider lower, drinking Shadra's blood, preparing sacrifices, even hiding a tablet of Shadra, with Mortagyar, the Keeper, one of the key figures guarding their ritual work. And at the summit altar, the evidence of their dark depravity. Dozens of Vile Branch are found dead in a mass suicide, a sacrifice offered to Shadra. Hinterlands has stood for at least 2,800 years, possibly much longer. It survived empires, wars, and changing gods. Long after this latest chapter, the city will still be here, waiting to be claimed, defiled, or rebuilt by whoever comes next. Now, let's take a look at the results from this farming session. First up, skinning. With all the leather and meat we gathered, it brings us up to about 4,500 gold per hour. That's honestly not too bad for this zone. It brings this challenge down to a 10-hour farm, although if the wheel had given me the gold token as a challenge, this would have been nearly a 100-hour farm, so praise the wheel for its generosity. Next up, herbalism, bringing in around 4,000 gold per hour. Also not too bad. Then we have mining. As expected, the lowest of the three, at 1,700 gold per hour. And to finish things off, I also did a dual gathering route that brought in 5,200 gold per hour. I noticed that the stranglekelp and the goldthorn were really the only herbs worth gathering, so I came up with a route that maximized the collection of those, and then while waiting for them to respawn, I would visit each of the mining nodes and get some ore. Now before we get on to the next farms, I found something a little curious. There's this little island to the east, and on the island, there's this large picnic basket. You can interact with it and it spawns a Vile Branch troll. They charge at you, yelling that you've walked into their trap, and when you kill them, you get no loot and no XP. And I can't figure out why it's here. There seems to be no quest tied with it, and as you don't get anything from it, it doesn't really seem to serve a purpose. Perhaps it's just an Easter egg. Or maybe it was from something that has since been removed and the basket has been left there. If you know, leave a comment and tell me, because I'd love to find out. Either way, I love little finds like this. I especially find it amusing to see them yell at me how I've fallen into their trap, as they run over the 12 corpses of their friends that I've just murdered. Anyways, let's get on with some more gold farming. Now, there's a few more obvious things we can look at before we start digging into the real secrets. First up, we've got fishing, both lake fishing and sea fishing, and then we're going to hunt some owl beasts. They drop small eggs that currently go for up to 10 gold a pop, so it might be worth farming. And while that's happening, I want to talk about what is, to me, one of the most interesting parts of this zone. In the far northeast of Hinterlands, you find Seradane, one of Warcraft's dead zones, a place abandoned. At the centre, a massive ancient tree, and set into it, a large portal. In lore, this wasn't just scenery. Seradane is one of the world's great gateways into the Emerald Dream. However, it was not always empty. Before the Cataclysm, elite green dragonkin patrolled the grounds, and at times, one of the infamous dragons of Nightmare could appear here. This area was just a small part of much bigger plans. Originally, the Emerald Dream was supposed to be a real, explorable endgame zone, but it was never released. Parts of it were repurposed, others just forgotten about. So what we're left with is a perfectly built doorway to nowhere. After the Cataclysm, everyone just left. A zone abandoned, with no purpose or future. Legion briefly brought it back to life. Druids reactivated the portal to access the Emerald Dreamway, and when the nightmare spread, aberrations spilled out here. But when you come here today, there's nothing. No monsters, no NPCs, no herbs or ores, not even a critter. Seradane has become a ghost town. I find areas like these in WoW incredibly fascinating. I remember stumbling across the portal in Duskwood when I was just a kid with no idea of the overall lore of Warcraft. I would ponder what world lies beyond it. Now I'm drawn to them for different reasons. In a game where every part of the world is crafted with care and attention, where every inch is filled with life, adventure and activities, the dead zones like these stand out, eerie and ominous, like stepping through the looking glass and seeing something you weren't supposed to. But we'll leave Seradane for now, almost certainly frozen in time for many expansions to come, and we'll get back to the gold. First up, we've got lake and river fishing, which really wasn't very successful. In this zone, all we can really fish up in the lakes and rivers is mithril head trout and greater sagefish, neither of them selling for more than a gold each. I managed to pull in an abysmal 290 gold per hour, whereas sea fishing, that was a lot more promising. In the Hinterlands Ocean, we're able to fish up the firefin snapper, which can sell for between 7 and 14 gold, which gave us 3,384 gold per hour, which really isn't that bad. Then finally we have the owl beasts and their small eggs, bringing in 1,900 gold per hour. Not awful, not particularly good either. So these are the standings so far. Of the reliable and measurable gold farming in the Hinterlands, jewel gathering and skinning are clearly by far the best. Everything else, not really worth it. Now there's still a number of things for us left to try, with the last two potentially being really big earners and really big secrets. But first up, farming the trolls. They're humanoids, so they do drop cloth, but unfortunately the silk cloth and occasionally mage weave cloth that they drop are worth pennies at the moment. There was always a chance to get a nice valuable world drop from them, but I wasn't getting lucky. So I pivoted. Instead, I started pickpocketing them and collecting the worn junk box. You have to lockpick these and then open them. And while most of the time you get junk, there is a chance that you can get greens, blues, or even epics. So, naturally, I filled up a bank tab with them. Not as many as I did for the Howling Fjord episode, but that's just because I don't think I'll be in this zone as long. Unfortunately, I was just as unlucky as last time. Here is a clip of me opening them at 10,000% speed. All I got was a bunch of greys and one green pattern. Next up, we have the rare spawns. There's actually quite a lot of rare spawns in the Hinterlands, and they seem to have a fairly decent spawn timer. I was often killing them multiple times a day, and they're always guaranteed to drop at least one green, sometimes two. Unfortunately though, those greens don't seem to sell for a whole lot. The majority of them were selling at near vendor price or the disenchantment cost. I kept killing them in hopes that I would get that one very valuable high ticket item, but in the few weeks that I've been here doing this, I can't remember a single drop from them that was noteworthy at all. But that brings us on nicely to one of the big secrets of the zone. While the rare spawns would guarantee me a green, there was something that would guarantee me a blue drop every time. Sturdy chests. They are treasure chests that seem to spawn around the troll ruins and locations. Now, they don't seem to spawn often, but I was able to grab one or two every day if I was diligent enough. Most of them would give an item ranging between 200 and 1000 gold, but there was always a chance, like this one, of something bigger and better. The Fire Main leggings, that seem to be able to sell for anywhere between 8,000 and 94,000 gold. So I've been hunting these chests regularly since then, obviously, but I do think there's other people that know about this. Because while I have never seen anyone else in this zone, sometimes I go a whole day without finding one of these chests. Which means I think someone is flying through every now and again just checking for them. But that isn't all. There is one final secret that this zone has to offer. There are a few vendor items that sell for a lot of gold on the auction house. First of all, you have the recipe for the tender wolf steak from the bartender at Wildhammer Keep, which can sell for up to 500 gold. Then, at Stormfeather Outpost, you've got the armor smith, who sells very generic gear, but some of them can sell on the auction house for anywhere between 50 to 500 gold. I'm guessing people were buying these for transmogs, and rather than coming all the way out here, they'll just buy it off the auction house for a premium. And lastly, hidden away in the hills in an unmarked location, there are two gnomes. The first one sells the pattern for the Iron Feather Shoulders. Now this pattern has a current market value of up to 29,000 gold. Now that is ludicrous, it won't sell for that, but it will sell for something. And the second one sells the schematic for the Mithril Mechanical Dragonling. Now this currently has a market value of 4,000 gold, and I have managed to sell one for around that price, so this does work. Now this only works when no one or very few people are bothering to come out here and do this. As soon as more people do it, the price will plummet and it won't be worth anything anymore. But I've already made 4,000 gold from one of these patterns. Now, we're almost done here in the Hinterlands. There's one last job, but before that, I'm doing things a little differently this time. On previous episodes, I've sold things kind of as and when I've looted them. This time, I've hoarded it all in my bank so we can get a good look at everything I've looted during this episode's challenge in the Hinterlands. Here is everything of value that we have looted in the Hinterlands. All the herbs and ores, the fish, the meat, the leather, all the greens, the blues, the patterns, all of it. And then on this second tab over on the right, we've got what I think were the more interesting drops. 2 Ziggler weapons I got from sturdy chests. A pattern for an Iron Feather breastplate is going for 7,000 gold. And of course those very valuable Fire Main leggings. Now before we put it all up on the auction house, the last thing I want to do is check for any good shuffles to maximize the gold profit. I had a look around, I did some research. The only thing that might be worth doing is milling the herbs. So I picked out all the herbs that would be more profitable after we mill them into their pigments, and that gave us an extra 610 gold on top of what we would have got selling them as their base form. And now, finally, it's time to sell. So I listed up on the auction house, using the TSM add-on to make sure I get the best price for everything, and then I wait. And I wait some more. I relist it when they expire and check that I haven't been undercut, and then I keep on waiting. While we're waiting together, since you've made it this far, could I perhaps interest you in subscribing? I don't get enough views to make any money from this. My fuel is knowing that there's people out there that enjoy this. Right now I have just over 900 subscribers, and it would be nice to hit that 1,000 mark. Then I can turn around and say, there's 1,000 people out there that want me to make more content. If not subscribing, perhaps you'd consider liking or commenting, even if it's something as simple as saying, I like this, do more. That'll be enough to fuel my ego for at least a couple more episodes. Now I think we've done enough waiting, let's see what kind of money we've pulled in. Okay, so let's take a look. We sold an enormous ogre belt. We sold one of the Ziggler daggers. It looks like we sold the plans that we bought from the vendor for 4,000 gold. We got 900 gold for the pigments. We got 6,000 gold from a set of worn troll dice. Now we actually looted that in the last zone, in Howling Fjord. But it feels very thematically correct that we sold the troll dice whilst in the Hinterlands. We made 2,500 gold from medium leather, 3,000 gold from strangle kelp, another 3,000 gold from Goldthorn, 4,000 gold from all the heavy leather. This has been a pretty good haul. But let's see if we've hit our target of 50,000 gold. And there we go, we have blown through the 50,000 gold target. Now, this was the easiest challenge that we could get given from the wheel, but even still, it took me a good couple of weeks to get it done. The next one is going to be at least twice as hard. So now all that's left to do is spin that wheel again and see which zone we unlock next. But first, a moment of appreciation for the Hinterlands. It might not have been the most exciting zone that I've ever played in, but it has been peaceful and hidden away by the mountains. It feels like a reward for those who explore, a little hidden gem for the players who don't just follow from one point of interest to the next. A zone forgotten by time, and kind of forgotten by the developers themselves. It's a land full of many curiosities. A lot of them didn't make it into this video. Like this Shindigger's camp hidden away in the hills. You've got an elf and a dwarf cooking up some moonshine, and it apparently serves no reason, no purpose. And I kinda like it. But now, it's time we say goodbye to the Hinterlands. We send off our 50,000 gold to the wheel god, so that we can spin again and find out where our next adventure is going to be. Shadow Moon Valley. Now this is the Warlords of Draenor version. I haven't been back there in a long time. Mostly because Warlords of Draenor was probably one of my least favourite expansions. But maybe it'll be different, going back with fresh eyes. Maybe I'll find things I didn't see my first time round. But now, let's see how much gold we're gonna need. And just a reminder while it's spinning, the WoW token is worth 400,000 gold at the moment. Ooh, we've just missed it by the skin of our teeth. Although, that does mean whatever zone comes next, I'm guaranteed to need to farm a WoW token before I can move on. But 100,000 gold in Shadow Moon Valley, that should be doable. So make sure to join me next time as we dig up the secrets of Draenor. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.